That chicken was, number one, a chicken I raised myself and slaughtered myself, so yay. But that lasted 3 meals, and now it's just a carcass with some meaty junk on it. So I got the big crock pot out, and this is my secret, all right? This is not snap peas, obviously. I just reused my bag. What does that look like to you? That is a freezer bag full of vegetable scraps. So every night when I'm cooking dinner, because I always cook dinner, pretty much every other night anyway, I save all the onion chunks and potato peels and ends of carrots and bits of celery and all that kind of shit. And I just throw it in this bag, you know, an old Ziploc bag, and I throw it in the freezer. And when the bag is full and when I have a chicken carcass, I make broth. So let's make broth. But oh no, my friends, if you have watched this long, you should know by now we are going to Amelia the Herbalist up the hell out of this broth, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. First, I've got this little partial head of garlic that's starting to sprout, so fuck it, it's just gonna go in there all by itself. I got some wakame seaweed. Any seaweed will do. If you got a chunk of seaweed, whatever, fuck it, that's fine. This is some wild foraged reishi mushroom. Some calendula blossoms, because those are awesome in broth. And some turkey tail mushrooms. Also, just look at this. I found this astragalus root. It's a big chunk of astragalus root, so I'm gonna throw some of that in. All right, so I just put the chicken carcass in. I haven't added any water yet. The bago vegetable just gets completely dumped in there. There's chunks of squash and stuff. The only thing I would recommend not putting in your bag of vegetables is, here's the garlic. I wouldn't put in like kale or a brassica. I hope you guys understand brassicas. It's like broccoli or kale or collards, that kind of stuff. This is a piece of the astragalus. I'm just gonna break it up and throw it in there. And that's because it can make your broth a little bit bitter. So let's see. We don't need a lot. That's just a little bit of reishi. Toss that in there. And maybe 2 or 3 turkey tails. Throw that in there. And if you don't have all this, I get it. It's okay. I'm just super powering this broth because, number one, it's one of my chickens, which are raised organically, soy-free, and free-range. A little bit of seaweed. This stuff, by the way, this Pacific wakame seaweed is a freaking delicious snack. Like, I just eat it out of the bag sometimes because it's really, really tasty. Just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that in there. Do it. Good enough. This is approximately a 7-quart crock pot. This is your secret ingredient. Raw apple cider vinegar. You want to pour probably about a 1/4 cup. This is a little bit more than that, so I'm just going to eyeball it because that's how I do. I'm just going to eyeball some ACV in there. Because what this does, this is number 1 secret ingredient, what this does is it leaches the minerals out of the bones, which is the difference between this being regular broth and bone broth, okay? A couple of peppercorns and some salt. Just going to throw that in. One other thing, I just ran out to the garden and I still had some thyme that doesn't look too bad. And a little bit of sage that is sort of frozen. Whatever herbs you have on hand, anything in the cupboard, whatever it is, throw that in there. Fill her up with water, as high up as you're willing to go, pretty much. I just turned it on low. This is the crock pot now, full of all that good stuff. And put the lid on. You want to put this on low and cook it for at least 24 hours. Longer's fine, but definitely at least 24 hours. And then when you're done, you just strain it out and put it in freezer containers or use it however you want to use it. And you can use this just like broth. You can drink it. Bone broth is amazing for fighting inflammation, arthritis, any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I highly recommend if you're able to get bones from a local farm or a meat from a local farm, use those. I do like to do this with beef bones as well, or deer or something like that. And you want to roast, if you do beef, any kind of big mammal bones, you want to roast them for about half an hour at 350 in the oven with a little salt and pepper, just because it gives them some flavor, adds flavor to the broth. And then you let that cook at least 24 hours. But it's freaking delicious. It's really good for you. You can use bone broth in a million different ways, and it's absolutely amazing. I hope this has helped, because you can buy a jar of bone broth at the store for like $9, or you can make 7 quarts of it for like $6.